Look at the numbers on Wall Street. Spot Bitcoin ETFs hold tens of billions of dollars. Crypto tickers flash across trading floors, and institutional capital treats digital assets like any other blue-chip stock. Wall Street has assimilated Bitcoin into its daily balance sheets. So when the Federal Reserve announces a fully digital, programmable dollar, often called a central bank digital currency, or CBDC, it appears as the final milestone of this technological shift, the legacy system finally upgrading its rails. But a programmable dollar removes the core feature that gave cryptography value in the first place. Instead of separating money from the state, it binds them together. A centralized ledger allows authorities to track every fraction of a cent. If a central bank directly issues digital tokens, they hold the power to dictate exactly where, when, and on what you are permitted to spend your salary. Money becomes a tool for active surveillance. Institutional adoption changes the geography of financial sovereignty. The struggle has moved from the survival of the asset to the control of the keys, and the true battle for control is just beginning. Economists define money through specific functions. One of those is the medium of exchange, the currency you use to actually buy things. The state relies on maintaining a monopoly over this specific function to preserve its power. To ensure that monopoly holds, tax laws and corporate accounting regulations demand that businesses operate exclusively in official currency. If you want to pay rent, buy a car, or run a grocery store, you are forced to use the state's payment rails. This regulatory fence pushes Bitcoin out of daily commerce. It becomes categorized strictly as a store of value, treated like a digital bar of gold sitting in a locked vault, rather than a currency you can hand to a merchant. Because it is pushed out of circulation, the vast majority of digital wealth ends up in custodial accounts managed by Wall Street firms. Users buy an ETF or leave their exchange, letting an institution hold the keys. When you hold a paper claim to a digital asset, you forfeit the ability to transact without asking a third party. The asset is separated from the peer-to-peer network that gave it power, becoming a fluctuating number on a regulated screen. If every attempt to convert your wealth requires navigating a state-approved fateway, your purchasing power exists entirely at their discretion. Watching your portfolio value rise offers no real independence if you are legally barred from spending it. That gateway is called an off-ramp. To turn digital savings into physical survival, like paying for housing or food, your wealth must pass through a narrow, tightly regulated conversion bottleneck to become programmable fiat. Urgent. At that exact point of conversion, the state exercises its authority. They can freeze the transfer, flag it for non-compliance, or enforce consumption limits based on algorithmic scores, tracking everything from credit history to personal consumption. Yet the system demanding this level of control relies on an unstable foundation. A programmable fiat currency still functions like legacy fiat. There is no physical or mathematical constraint on how many units the central bank can create. This chart shows two competing models of monetary policy. On the steep, erratic curve, we see the supply of state-issued currency expanding endlessly as governments monetize debt. Intersecting it is a rigid line representing Bitcoin, locked at exactly 21 million coins. When you are forced to hold your wealth in a system with an infinite supply curve, your purchasing power melts away. Citizens in countries with hyperinflation live this daily, watching the cost of basic goods double and triple as the currency is debased. The state's architecture forces you to take a mathematically secure, scarce asset and sell it for a monitored, inflating digital token just to survive. The rollout of programmable money splits the cryptocurrency ecosystem into two irreconcilable factions, separated by how they choose to store their value. The first group accepts state-permissioned finance. They keep their wealth in institutional ETFs and custodial wallets, choosing the convenience of regulatory approval in exchange for total transparency and state oversight. The second group rejects the official financial infrastructure entirely. These individuals pull their assets into self-custody cold storage to remain on decentralized, permissionless rails. Central banks built a digital token capable of infinite inflation and absolute surveillance. In doing so, they have validated the original purpose of Bitcoin, to provide a secure, decentralized alternative for those who seek to exit the system. Users now face a direct trade-off. Seamless transactions in the state-sanctioned system require absolute third-party oversight. Avoiding that oversight requires the friction of managing your own cryptographic keys. In a future powered by a programmable fiat standard, financial freedom is not determined by the dollar value of your portfolio. It is determined by whether you hold the cryptographic keys required to exit the dollar system entirely.